What is up everyone, and welcome back to another video. Game sense is one of those things in Fortnite that everyone wants to be good at, but most people don't actually know how to develop it. It's a super important skill to have, but most players simply don't know how to actually approach game sense in order to get better at it. So that's why in today's video, I'll be going over how to improve your game sense in Fortnite Chapter 4 and become a much smarter player. Before we get into it though, be sure to drop a like if you find this video helpful, and consider subscribing as well if you're new to the channel and you want to see more content just like this in the future. And lastly guys, just a quick reminder that I do offer direct one-on-one coaching. Whether you need to optimize your playstyle, improve your game sense, get better mechanics, or anything in between, I'm able to help out with that. My videos are always going to remain free, but if you want some direct one-on-one guidance directly from me, then feel free to schedule a session. The link to do a coaching session is going to be down in the description somewhere near the top. But with that said, and without further ado, let's get into today's video. So starting off this video, I want to talk about a topic very few people talk about when it comes to game sense, and that topic is the different types of game sense. Game sense is something that shows all throughout your Fortnite gameplay, and if it has anything to do with playing Fortnite, there's going to be a level of game sense associated with it. There are three different forms of game sense that I primarily categorize them into, which are going to include mechanical game sense, rotational game sense, and general game sense. Starting off, mechanical game sense is basically the game sense you use within fights. Mechanical game sense means things like knowing which edits to take, knowing how to peek in order to minimize your odds of getting shot, knowing all the best techniques, and basically anything else that's involved in fighting. Second up is rotational game sense. This is the type of game sense people tend to think about when it comes to competitive. For example, an IGL needs to have very good rotational game sense, knowing how to handle rotating through each zone, knowing where the best positions are on the map, and all sorts of things of that nature. Rotational game sense really isn't prevalent in our general gameplay, such as in public matches and even in arena, but this is a whole different realm which opens up once you play tournaments and scrims. And finally, our last form of game sense is general game sense. This is the very basic level of game sense and mainly encompasses knowledge about the game. This includes stuff like knowing what the best weapons are, knowing the ins and outs of your drop spot, and pretty much anything else that doesn't encompass fighting or rotations. So with that said, now that we've gone over the three types of game sense, the way I'm going to structure the rest of this video is by each form of game sense, so you can either target whichever one you struggle with, or you can simply use all these methods to improve all areas of your game sense. So starting off, we're going to begin by talking about how to improve your mechanical game sense, which is also known as your fighting sense. This one is an interesting one because the majority of players fight intuitively and they don't really think too much while they're in the midst of a fight. Like for example, when you're in a fight, you're really not going to be sitting there constantly thinking about like, all right, which move is going to be perfect in this situation. At least at an advanced level, you kind of just start to do it intuitively and do it naturally. With that said, one of the best ways to work on your mechanical game sense is to learn new techniques. There are numerous ways to do this. First off, you can do something like a creative map such as Raider's Peaks Control map, Tito's realistic edit map, or any other number of maps to learn techniques. Or you can even watch a pro player, see what they do in their fights, take notes on that, and then focus on emulating it in your own gameplay. Whichever way you decide to approach it, having a large arsenal of techniques you can use in fights is a major part of mechanical game sense. One way I recommend doing this is each time you hop on the game, go into an empty creative world or just like a regular creative map with techniques in it, and pick at least one technique to work on. Spend a little bit of time just purely working on that technique, grinding it over and over again and getting good at it. Theoretically, if you did this every single day for a month, you would know about 30 new techniques, which as you can probably imagine is a pretty big deal. Obviously, you're going to have to take more time to really get consistent and refine them, but the concept still remains true. As well as that, another effective way to improve your mechanical game sense is simply to spend more time practicing in fights. Doing things like realistic 1v1s, zone wars, realistic PvPs, and even regular matches can help you to apply your fighting skills and help you to learn how to become a better fighter. It's a bit of a simple way to improve, but if you're trying to get better at fighting, you're going to have to expose yourself to a variety of different fights and situations. So overall, by learning from pros, utilizing creative maps, and spending more time in game practicing fights, you should find your mechanical game sense improving quite a bit. Moving on to our second form of game sense though, which is rotational game sense, and this one is probably the most difficult to improve. Rotations are a very intricate aspect of the game and very specific, and even one little mistake can crumble your entire match if you're in a high-skilled lobby. Literally in an endgame, if you go to zone the wrong way, you can get absolutely targeted by the entire lobby and your game ends right there. Being able to rotate properly and know exactly where the densest and quietest areas are on the map is a skill that many players don't have, but almost every successful competitive player does. The biggest key to improving your rotational game sense is going to be gaining experience in scrims and tournaments, aka literally just playing the game and practicing rotating. Scrims and tournaments both tend to have more stacked endgames as well as better players, which really allows you to get some good practice in and learn how to rotate in a variety of situations. I know a lot of you guys are probably thinking that you're not at a skill level to play tournaments or scrims, but I'm here to tell you that if you really want to improve your game sense and just improve at the game overall, you're going to need to push yourself out of your comfort zone, and this is a great way to do that. So even if you're not very comfortable with it, try out some scrims, try out a couple of tournament rounds, and this should help you improve at rotation significantly. Another crucial aspect of improving your rotational game sense is to VOD review, both your own gameplay and pro players' gameplay. Regarding your own gameplay, it's super important to look back and figure out what you did right and wrong and what you could have done better. Self-reflection is key to improvement. If you can find your mistakes and take the time to improve upon them, you should become much better at rotational game sense, and you should find yourself placing higher in tournaments, doing better in scrims, and all sorts of stuff like that. As well as that, watching pro players and seeing how they handle their rotations is a great way to improve your rotational game sense. Pros need to have good rotational game sense in order to qualify for the top rounds of big tournaments like FNCS and Elite Cup, so watching their gameplay to see how they handle all sorts of different situations is very valuable when it comes to improving your own rotational game sense. Back when I was trying to get good at rotations personally, what I would do is go on Twitch and watch a pro player's gameplay from a tournament. This could be like a solo cash cup, a scrim match, or whatever else. And what I would do is I would look at where each zone pulled, how they handled it, and what types of strategies they used to rotate safely. It's a lot of work, but your rotational game sense will definitely improve if you do that once in a while. With that said, getting into the last part of today's video, and we've got general game sense. General game sense is, as I said, basically just your overall knowledge of the game, of the meta, and everything like that. One of your biggest goals with general game sense should be to stay ahead of the meta. To do this, I recommend you guys stay up to date on social media and whatnot. That way you can always know what's changing in the game, which strategies are popular, etc. One popular source is r/Fortnite competitive on Reddit. This subreddit does get a lot of crap throughout the Fortnite community for various reasons, but it still is a pretty solid source for competitive information, as well as just updates on what's going on in the competitive scene and various competitive clips and stuff like that. Another option is simply to follow a lot of competitive players, coaches, etc. on Twitter, since Twitter is basically a big Fortnite competitive hub. And I guess I might as well just plug my Twitter here as well. My Twitter is @Teckoh with 2 H's, as you can see on screen. I don't post ridiculously often, but when any big changes happen in the Fortnite community or with my channel, I do tend to retweet stuff and post whenever I need to. So feel free to drop me a follow on there if you're interested. Another way to improve your general game sense is simply to consume lots of educational Fortnite content to improve your knowledge about the game. This can include tips and tricks videos like mine. It can include VOD review videos, informational videos, and all sorts of stuff like that. Some great creators who do that kind of stuff are Zycoma, Destiny's Jesus, Reese Hub, Driving TV, Ken Beans, and myself, and I'm sure there are plenty of others as well. Keeping up to date with content is really helpful because the community is always coming up with new ideas and finding out new things about the game. And since every single person is not going to cover every little thing, it's good to have a variety of sources. Lastly, guys, the final way to improve your general game sense and improve your knowledge of the game is an incredibly simple tip, but certainly one that works, and that is to simply play the game more often. Honestly, in-game experience is a large part of every aspect of game sense. I guess the general rule I should give you all is something along the lines of, when in doubt, play a lot of Fortnite and spend a lot of time VOD reviewing. One of the best ways to learn the intricacies of the game itself, the meta, fighting, etc. is simply to play over and over. So although it's a simple tip, it really is helpful. But with that said, that's going to wrap it up for today's video on the best ways to improve all areas of your game sense in Fortnite Chapter 4. Overall, start off by understanding the difference between each form of game sense, and then from that point you can narrow down how exactly to improve that area of your game sense and become a more skilled and smarter player as a result. Improving your game sense is definitely a process, but hopefully this video gave you some good ideas as to how you can do it efficiently. If you found this video helpful, then be sure to drop a like on it, and consider subscribing as well if you're new to the channel and want to see more Fortnite tips and tricks content just like this in the future. And as always, if you want to show some extra support, I would really appreciate if you would use code Teckoh in the item shop. It's 100% free for you. It only takes a few seconds to type in, and it seriously does help me out a bunch. As always, a big thank you to everyone who uses my code. But with that said, thank you all for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.